Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, the 2nd of June, 2024. Also, one of my niece's birthdays, so happy birthday to you. And before I kick off anything, I wanted to, I think I said that the book that Dave Weiss and Eddie Bravo and Alex Jones were sharing, I think I said Alex Gleason. I made a mistake. It was this book. I've had this for years, and it's from Edward Henry. I've got books by Alex Gleason and dozens of other people as well on this. But The Greatest Lie on Earth: Proof That Our World Is Not a Moving Globe. And so it doesn't say anything about the actual shape yet, but it does say that it's not a moving globe. And I've said that for literally years on the record. And so it's interesting that that interview was had just in the last few days with him. And but again, I've done countless videos over the years too about Alex Jones being controlled opposition, whether he knows it or not, and then also just part of like even show trials, just like Trump. He's part of a show trial. He knows that anyway, they knew going in that there was going to be negative press and negative feedback, but that was going to make them more popular, right? So it's not a coincidence that Alex Jones blew up even more after the Sandy Hook trials and things like that. I'm going to get into that, and with Donald Trump, with this infamous mugshot now and stuff like that. And so anyway, these are all staged and planned. And when I share more information with you about crisis actors and role players and plants and deep-seated psychological operations that have been going on for hundreds of years, then you'll understand why this should not be, a shock to people, right? Donald Trump is part of the counterintelligence unit, right? Like he's the one that has been pushing QAnon BS, propaganda, psyops, right? That are duping people into doing silly things. And it's a counterintelligence operation, just like Operation Trust from Soviet era times, and countless other examples. But I digress. So, this is a touchy subject, so much so that even yesterday I got into a not an argument, but I say that it was not pleasant of a conversation regarding Sandy Hook, because a lot of people don't, they're not aware of just like the level of crisis actors there are, like that I've shared this for years, the duping delight, actors that are used, like people that are literally like known actors and celebrities from even past eras that are being utilized as part of like the mainstream media narrative to lie even about their children dying, parents dying, friends dying. I've shared this irrefutable proof, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to share information today. This is not irrefutable proof. I'm going to say that. So this is one of those things where I'm going to share a lot of information that is make your own assessments, but you'll understand why Alex Jones was calling this a hoax, and other people have as well. I'm not saying it was or not. I'm saying that the jury's still out. There's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and they're not being answered, and we're being lied to. And government, by the way, they're funded by taxpayers. So any finances that are utilized, we actually as taxpayers have a right to know, and that's why the FOIA is what they call it in the U.S. and in access to information requests, we call that in Canada. We have every right to have access to any public information that the government has its hands in, right? Obviously, because we're paying them for that service specifically. We're paying them for these services. I'm going to reiterate that. And anyway. News treason. And that's not my channel. And Wolfgang exposing the truth behind it. Just back up a little bit.
Set himself on fire in front of the Trump trial
the
other day in New York City. And, I put up a poll on my Telegram channel, and I asked everybody what they thought. I believe at last check, it was 91%
in the UK and around the world.
It was fake. It was staged. And there was a lot of evidence that suggests that, and I'm going to go through that in a minute. But it got me thinking a lot about the discussion that kind of seems to happen every time we have one of these events, whether it's this or another school shooting or any of these different insane events. You hear us talk about the wag the dog stuff that's been going on, in the Ukraine and over in Israel. And invariably, every time we talk about that, there's a segment of people that ask the same question that probably every one of us, myself included, asked when they first discovered the extent of which the propaganda that's been used against us over the last 20 plus years, at least intensely and going much further back. But how did they do this? And then you also get the next question, which is, well, somebody would talk, right? Somebody would have said something. How did NASA pull this off all these years? Somebody would have said that XYZ is happening. And then you get to some of these more extensive ones and the ones that we actually watch. Now we're seeing stuff where we're in this information age, or misinformation age, if you want to call it, where we're seeing stuff happen in real time. And now we can actually look and analyze the video, but there's still that natural framework of doubt that a lot of people have. And I realized it all connects back to that cue drop that says you cannot tell the people, you have to show them. And when it comes to these staged propaganda events,
that's what I'm trying to do.
It's incredibly difficult if you've never experienced it, studied it, seen it. You simply don't have any basis to understand it, right? I believe I was listening, I think it was Captain Kyle or somebody the other day. I don't want to take credit for somebody else's words, but they used a very good example. They were trying to talk about quantum mechanics and some of the things that we're headed into. And they said, it's very hard to describe it to people because it would be like going back to 1950 and, telling somebody when their phone isn't working that they need to check their Wi-Fi. And if they don't have their Wi-Fi checked, maybe they should update their firmware. And if that's not, they should, hard reset their phone, or they should check their mobile connection. Like these people, they don't even have, not only do they not know what you mean, but they don't even have a basis. They didn't know what a cell phone is, let alone any of the mechanics that go into it. And for most of us, when we started on this journey, yeah, we all knew of propaganda. But I don't think most of us understood the depth to which the propaganda can go, and just how far our government would go to brainwash us, to sell a narrative, to achieve something, in this case with Sandy Hook, that was a very calculated, long planned, very involved, very in-depth con to take our guns away, or to at least advance that agenda. But if you've never seen it, I think that's where so many people are having difficulty now. And we see it in these discussions all the time when we talk about you're watching a movie. And, again, I want to be clear about that. I say it every time, but there's always somebody that wants to come at us about it. So I'll repeat myself. I am not one of those people that's telling you everything you're seeing on your television is fake. I'm not one of those people that's telling you no one's dying. I'm not telling you no one's in jail. What we mean by you're watching a movie is things like what you saw in Congress last night with the $61 billion getting passed and everyone waving flags. We're under continuity of government, guys. There is no Congress. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. You're watching a movie. I don't mean what's happening to each of you is a movie. I don't mean that there aren't people dying from the vaccine. So I want to be clear on that. But some of the stuff that happens in this movie, when we talk about, the border, a lot of people struggle with the idea that perhaps the white hat media could be showing you a small group of people on the border and then simply telling you it's more people, or that some of these events that take place are either not happening or they're happening in a different way. And then the narrative is being advanced. There's a lot of people that struggle with that, and let alone our family and friends. And we try to tell them that. Tonight, what I'm going to show you is something that you absolutely can show to any of your family and friends.
Yeah.
And I think some of you will benefit from it as well, because I've said this before, that this documentary, Dear Wolfgang, when I started really waking up in 2020, I stumbled across this, and this documentary changed my life forever. And it set me on this trajectory that I'm on. It opened my eyes, and that's why you do hear me talking so much about the movie. You do hear me commenting so much on Telegram about what's real and what's not, because when you watch this documentary and you process the extent, the detail, the level of deception that the government could pull off in partnership with the media right under our eyes, and here we are 10 years later, and the great majority of the public still doesn't know it. Well, then you can very simply understand how the good people of the world could take back control of that same propaganda machine and be using it right now to create this movie. They could be using the same weapons of power to put something like, I don't know, a fake president in a fake White House, and the whole country doesn't know.
If you're not new to my channel, especially Rumble, a lot of this footage I've already shared over the years. But there is new information in here that I either wasn't tracking or just skipped because there's just a lot of information to go through. But
so let's just take a look real quick, and graphic warning. I just want to just talk very quickly about what went on the other day, and then I'm going to get right into the documentary. Now, again, just a graphic warning. I'm going to pull this up. This is what we saw the other day. Okay, and we were told that a man wrote a manifesto about the government tyranny, and again, depending on which side you think he stood on, they give you a whole backstory. They had it ready right away. That should generally give you a clue that there's something suspicious. When you get the guy's manifesto 10 minutes after it happened, that should be your first clue. The second clue, I know I have a lot of New York people in here, right? This is Lower Manhattan, outside the courthouse. Now, first and foremost, Donald Trump, who, whether you guys like it or not, is the commander-in-chief. And even if you don't believe he's the commander-in-chief, he certainly has the security of that, right? Look at this area, right? Isn't it just convenient that the area which he is standing in is already cordoned off by gates? Doesn't that raise your red flag right away? And if it was cordoned off so nobody was allowed in, why is he the only man in there? Because anybody that's ever lived or worked in New York City, or any major city for that matter, knows that in the middle of the day, in one of the most densely populated cities in the world, especially around a media circus like this, you don't find empty parks with just one person standing in them. Go to Manhattan tomorrow. Go try to find an area of the city outside of Central Park, perhaps, where you can find somebody standing in an area with 600 feet of space around them and nobody even near him. So that should really be your first clue, right? And then I'm not going to run this whole thing because it is graphic if you believe it's real. And I have the sound off, but the man he's not screaming. There's virtually nobody coming near him. You start to see some people scurrying. In my opinion, it's suspect, right? Now, this doesn't say much, but I want to get to the next part, right? And, one of the, I've always said it before, I never really wanted or anticipated having such a large audience as we do on this platform. But one of the benefits of that, too, is that you get a cross-section of people from all over the world, and you get feedback from people from all over the world. And we have a lot of EMTs, and thank you to EMTs for all that you do for our country and our communities. There are a lot of EMTs that weighed in on this. And every one of them said the same thing. Now, this is a man that we're told just set himself on fire, that if you see, and again, I'm not going to run that whole video. It's like a minute long, that the man was actually burning for a minute. And I don't want to get graphic, but if you guys do some research on people that have caught fire, set themselves on fire, it does not take long to completely burn the skin off of somebody's body. So a man that's laying on the ground after just having been on fire for all this time would be writhing in pain, would be screaming, but there would be a protocol for how the person is attended to. Now, remember, the reports were when they got to him, he was still alive.
I've covered all that.
He's since perished, but he was still alive. Let's take a look at how these EMTs handled him, shall we?
Yeah.
You see that?
This is not Aaron Bushnell, by the way. This is the Maxwell Azzarello. I've shared this as well. Just like things that are just very interesting that don't really line up with this event as well. I'm not saying that that he didn't pass, or I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's just a lot of suspicious stuff that has happened with that footage and his connection with acting and stuff like that, and the sign that was misinterpreted by a lot of people. But he was saying that Trump and Biden were part of the same cabal, as whatever it was, and people were trying to say that he was anti-Trump. People were saying that he was pro-Trump. I'm like, his message was anti-government, specifically Trump and Biden. But again, a lot of weird stuff that he's
getting the gurney ready, and
Don 189 on Rumble, DAWN. I right at the beginning, I shared that.
We're just gonna pick him up by his legs and just throw him on the ground.
Oh,
where are my EMTs? Does that make sense? Watch it again. Just
news treason.
This is a man that is covered with third-degree birds, right? They're just gonna.
Yeah. I went over it quick. Yeah, so quick. I mean, so this is on Rumble, this channel. So News Treason is the channel where I got this from, and he does cite references. So you've got the FOIA, and anyway, yeah, I'm new to this channel, but this footage and information has been out there from other channels. But this guy's doing a really good job of covering it. And he seems to be bang on with a lot of other things too. So he's going to get to Sandy Hook eventually, but he's just covering other things first.
Throw him on the gurney, and
I could fast forward it
just flailing there, and
to everyone.
They didn't bring him any oxygen or anything. That no methods, no equipment to cover his skin, which would be falling off his body by this point. Do we really think this is how it would be done?
Melting off his body.
You guys tell me. And I agree with Bugman62. His skin would come off, and I'm not an EMT. Yeah, exactly. Kind of common sense, right? Where have we seen this before? Does anybody remember George Floyd? We're going to go back to that now. Now, remember, this is a man, this is video from May 25th of 2020. And listen, I'm not going to get into George Floyd, but we all know that was a psyop as well. And this is video of the point at which the EMTs arrive. And this is one of the things myself, when I saw this back then, that got my spidey senses to peak up. Watch how the EMTs handle this. Now remember, here's a guy that we were told, number one, we were told that the cops had their knee on the back of his neck for about 9 minutes, right? So logic would tell you that if that were true, that would be a potential neck injury, right? Neck injury, back injury. What happens whenever there's a neck or a back injury? You immobilize the body, you immobilize the neck. They don't do that here. Okay, and on top of it, we were also told that he died or he was suffering from asphyxiation. They don't bring him any oxygen. Let's watch. Now, this is a man that could have a neck injury. Yeah, we'll just throw him on this. We'll just flop the body around a little bit. We got him face down. They have him face down right now.
It's just
and we'll just, dump him on the gurney, flip him over. He's actually, if you guys look closely right here, back it up a little bit. Look at his left arm. I'm sorry. Yes, his left arm. His left arm is actually folded under his body. EMTs, is that how you put somebody on a gurney? And again, like I said, pick your injury. He either had a traumatic back or neck injury, in which case that breaks some protocol. Go watch.
No, I'm not going to go off of his assessment of this because I've already covered George Floyd at length multiple times, and Derek Chauvin and everyone there, the police reports, like multiple different body cams from different angles, from different footage, even from civilians that were sharing. Like I showed the autopsy, I showed the blood work, with the amounts of fentanyl and other things that were in his body. And then I showed multiple videos and body cams from alternate interactions that George Floyd had with law enforcement, where he was doing and saying the same exact things that he was saying here. And he was known. All right. So there's only a small percentage of people actually that commit crimes. And oftentimes they're repeat offenders, and it's varying degrees of criminality. But the majority of people are not criminals. Right. And so like in most major cities and suburb areas, it's going to be like the same kind of people consistently. And again, like I said, with varying degrees of criminality involved. And so let's get to the main event here. But this guy's good. I would check out his channel. Absolutely.
And at the time, Congress in 1948 passed the Smith-Mundt Act. Now, what did the Smith-Mundt Act say? It essentially said that the American government and the media, because they're really one and the same, it was illegal for them to use the same propaganda tactics within the borders of the continent of the United States, of the 48 states at the time, 50 states now. It outlawed the use of government-sponsored propaganda against the American people.
That was overturned.
Well, we fast forward
Biden's administration too
to 2012, and under the good old Obama administration, Congress passed what was known as the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. And what they did, and see, everyone's learned about this over the last few years, a lot of the country has learned about it, is they buried it within the Defense Authorization Act. In other words, they buried it in one of those 2,000, 10,000 page bills that the congressmen don't.
So they buried it, but that happened. Let's get to Sandy Hook. And again, I'm not saying the jury's still out, not the jury's not out, but I'm just saying there's a lot of compelling evidence that's going to be shown to people here that might make you rethink what you thought.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold me accountable for everything that I say tonight. I cannot afford to waste your time.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
Sandy Hook School. I think there's somebody shooting in here. Sandy Hook School.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because somebody's got, God, I got a glimpse of somebody. They're running down the hallway.
Okay.
They're still running. They're still shooting. Sandy Hook School, please. Oh.
Down 911, what's the accident?
There's 10 Dickinson Drive and Sandy Hook Newtown, Connecticut.
Okay, what's going on at 10 Dickinson Drive?
It sounds like I stepped in the hallway and I'm a teacher in the school.
Okay, where are you in the school right now?
I'm in the school in the classroom.
Okay, we have everyone in the classroom in the door.
All of my students, the door's not locked yet. I have to go.
Okay, well, I'm also going to keep everybody calm, keep everybody down, get everybody away from the windows, okay? Where are you in the school?
I'm in the hallway when you walk in the front entrance if you take the left.
Okay, all right, try to walk down the school, okay?
We're trying, okay.
All right, Down 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Sandy Hook Elementary School, 12 Dickinson Drive.
Okay, I've got that. What's going on down there?
I believe they're shooting at the front glass. Something's
Okay.
going on.
All right, I want you to stand along. Where are you in the school?
Ladies and gentlemen, Sandy Hook touched my heart.
Of course. I was actually in the special forces during that time. Second in command of a squadron as a supporter, not as an assaulter. I'll make that clear because I don't care. I have no ego in this. It's still impressive. And I was a very busy squadron. And I actually invited, because I was also part of like professional development for the entire unit, as well as that I was quite busy, and part of OSIS. But I invited one of the main incident commanders of Sandy Hook to our unit, and did like the whole escort stuff with them as well. It's different in the military as opposed to escorts at the red light district. I will clarify that. I just used it, I'm like, why do we use this term anyway? Yeah, and so picked them up to and from the airport, coordinated all the the flights and stuff like that. Had him sign. Well, he gave me a book and signed it, like a book that he had written on Sandy Hook. I was looking for it yesterday. I can't find it yet, but I've moved multiple times since, and so it's anyway. And I also for what happened in with Nathan Cirillo actually at Parliament when we had that attempted parliamentary event happen, and our not the Speaker of the House, but Vic Arms, I think his name was. No, that's wrong. Well, actually, maybe. Anyway, the guy that shot that guy that was trying to attack people at the War Monument, killed Nathan Cirillo, and then wanted to go into Parliament, and then he got stopped. He got shot by the sergeant in arms. That's who it is. Oh my goodness, and whatever his name was, I forget. But anyways, I shared that stuff, and interesting. It was around the same time, and I also invited people that were responded to that, the incident commanders or the parliamentary protective services, like the higher ends, to also come and speak at the unit.
If we don't come together as a country, as a people, we are in serious, serious trouble.
20-year-old Adam Lanza launched his massacre at home. Officials say Lanza shot his mother Nancy multiple times, killing her in her bed. Lanza then took 4 guns legally registered to his mother and drove this.
Sorry, yeah. So the sergeant in arms, Kevin Vickers, hailed as hero who helped stop attacker. Sergeant at arms Kevin Vickers tweets Justice Minister Peter MacKay. Role in stopping an assailant who killed a Canadian Forces member in Ottawa, Nathan Cirillo, like I was saying. Vickers, 58, a native of Miramichi, New Brunswick, was reportedly in the House of Commons when a gunman entered sometime around 9:52 a.m. inside the Hall of Honor. Anyway. He spent 29 years with the RCMP and rose to the rank of chief superintendent. Anyway, I'm just reading off. Sorry, I'll get back to this.
Black Honda to Sandy Hook Elementary School, about 5 miles away. Students there had finished reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Then, around 9:30 Friday morning, staffers in the front office heard popping noises. Lanza entered the building carrying a Bushmaster AR-15 assault rifle with 2 semi-automatic handguns inside the pockets of his military-style cargo pants. Police say he was also carrying hundreds of rounds of ammunition in multiple magazines. The precise sequence of what happened next is unclear. But we do know Lanza headed down a hallway towards the section of the school containing the classrooms of the youngest students. There, he killed 20 first graders, shooting all of them numerous times with the .223 assault rifle. 6 adult women, including the principal, the school psychologist, and teachers were also killed. The shooting lasted about 10 minutes. The slaughter ended as the first police officers arrived on the scene. The officers heard a final volley of shots. Lanza had used one of the handguns to take his own life.
So let me see if I can try and go through the official narrative so we can hear what the official story is. You ready? A 112-pound, 6-foot boy who never had any presence on the internet before somehow got a hold of 4 giant guns and an even bigger rifle, and shot his mother on top of a beautiful white down coverlet, leaving only a raspberry jam flavored stain and no blood or spatters on the walls anywhere. Then he took all that weaponry, managed to park in front of a school. Then he manages to shoot his way into a window, but somebody conveniently moved the pamphlet thing out of the way so it wouldn't fall down. Goes in the window, manages to kill 26 people, perfect shots. Everyone's dead except for I think 2. And then for some reason he goes back outside and puts the big rifle into the trunk of his car where it can be discovered later by somebody else. And then what happens is somebody shows up that we don't know who, decides everybody's dead, and tells all the ambulance people and the emergency medevac helicopters, don't bother coming, they're all dead, we don't need you to check this out. And then the children are left there until that evening, so that the coroner tells us the next day that the children were all removed in the middle of the night and none of the bodies were shown to their parents. And
you're familiar with him, because I've shared footage of him as well, like in previous videos over the years.
And this was all, at least the evacuation of the children was photographed by a lady named Shannon Hicks, who had plenty of time to reframe the shot. How'd I do?
Pretty good. Wolfgang Halbig, yeah.
As Rich said, I was a Florida State Trooper. Take a look at me, 80 pounds ago. That's a lot of donuts. When you become a law enforcement officer, they trick you with these donuts. They start with 1, then you got a dozen, and look what happened to me. I'm going to sue them. So I can tell you this, when I came to this country, and when I joined the service in 1966 during Vietnam, I took an oath. Ladies and gentlemen, it means something to me. When I got out of the military and I became a Florida State Trooper, I took an oath. It means something. When I got out of the Highway Patrol and became a U.S. Customs agent, what did I do? I took an oath. When I became a naturalized U.S. citizen, what did I do? I took an oath. And even when I became a teacher and a school administrator, I took an oath. Ladies and gentlemen, I've traveled this country from one end to another. I get hired by school superintendents and school board members to look at their schools and come up with emergency management plans, do school safety assessments, and make sure that these principals have a plan in the event there is an emergency. In 1994, when I became a director of school safety, the first thing I realized in my school district of 65,000 students, we had no plan. How in the world do you run a 65,000 student school district and not know what you're going to do if there's a shooting? So we did have a shooting. We did have stabbings. We did have gang members. And then the superintendent says, Wolfgang, write a plan. We sold 10,000 of these all over the country. This is a color-coded emergency management plan, and we pray to God that no school district ever has to say the words code red. It's breaking news, shots fired, Connecticut. Ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't take my eyes off the TV. I'm a national school safety consultant, and they had me hooked. Ladies and gentlemen, Sandy Hook touched my heart all day long. I could not get away from that TV. In the first week, I actually donated money to the Sandy Hook Promise Fund, because when you have tragedy, the first thing we can do as people of this country is we donate. I donated. And a week later, I finally woke up. Something is not right. At 9:35:43, the first 911 call comes in. It's from a lady called Barbara Halstead. Her husband happens to be the fire chief at the Sandy Hook Volunteer Fire Department. I go to the call for service report that the 911 dispatchers are supposed to maintain, right? What am I looking for at 9:35:43? What should that call for service show me? Shots fired.
Yep.
Guess what it says? Unwanted person. Response code, medium. That didn't even have a high priority code. It should have listed what? Shots fired, because that gives you the highest priority. It's an all call, all hand on deck. Everybody's hauling butt. And how did I verify it? I go to the incident reports. Guess what the incident report says? Unwanted person. There is not one mention ever of shots fired at Sandy Hook.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
Sandy Hook School. I think there's somebody shooting in here. Sandy Hook School.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because somebody's got a gun. I saw a glimpse of somebody. They're running down the hallway.
Okay.
They're still running. They're still shooting.
We had 911 calls coming in, 4 of them.
in a matter of 7 minutes, and every one of them screaming, shots fired, shots fired, and they send out the call as a trespasser. It's 9:40, police arriving. The first one is Sergeant David Culligren. He says in his report, we responded, I parked my vehicle halfway down Dickinson Drive. Now you got to visualize what Dickinson Drive is. Fire station, okay, it's on Riverside. Fire station, Riverside 12, it's going to the school, it's a long drive. He stops halfway down and he says in his report, I'm waiting for other units. Newtown Police Department has a police chief named Mike Kehoe. They have a captain named Rios. They have 4 lieutenants and the management staff. You do not hear one word from any of those managers until an hour and a half into the transmission. Question, where are they? Guess who controls the entire event? Sergeant David Culligren. And all of a sudden at 11:42 a.m. on that day, you never hear another word of Sergeant David Culligren. Now guess who shows up? Another lieutenant named Cinco, Lieutenant Cinco. Now he's the guy who's working that morning at an off-duty construction site, off-duty. He has a Newtown police officer named Gold, a female officer. She's a K-9 officer. They're working maybe 2 miles from Sandy Hook. They hear the call, shots fired. What should they do? I don't know what y'all's protocol is. If you're off-duty, you're in uniform, you're in a patrol car, you hear shots fired at a school. What do? You stay at your off-duty job or you break away? You go to the shooting, right? These two never leave. They stay for 4 hours. Now, this is a lieutenant. At 9:42, nobody's entered the school yet. Not one policeman's in. 9:42, he's running a car tag check on a black Honda Civic. 872-YE.
You got this 27 in there?
Anyway. Takes about 2 or 3 minutes to come back. Then he reaches in, takes out a long gun, long rifle, puts it in the trunk, locks it. He has yet to go into school. What's the higher priority, neutralizing the shooter or running a car tag? There's a Lieutenant Van Galley, Newtown Police Lieutenant, in the hallway, runs into a first grade little girl. It could be your little girl. He sees her, he grabs her. He opens the door and pushes her into classroom 8. Tells her, get in there.
And actually, they're saying classroom 8, but there was also numbering issues with that as well. And I will will also say that on the like when you Google the like the incident report or the assessment that was made regarding Sandy Hook and the response of law enforcement and other government officials, they completely do not say this. They in fact say the complete opposite of this. So it's a lying report. It's an official government report right from their government website, and it's full of lies. Because this is all stuff that's actually on the record that did happen, like the pushing of the children, and anyway, into classrooms where there was alleged dead bodies, right? So why would you do that with children? And then so on these reports that I was looking at, because again, like I do my due diligence, right? Like I'm looking at all sides and I'm looking at multiple different reports, and I have been looking at this for years, and saying that they were during the response, it was to minimize harm and suffering and stuff like that, and specifically as well, they were saying that they were moving people outside of areas where there would be known trauma. But that's the complete opposite of what they were doing. They were actually not taking people away from areas. They were actually putting them in areas where the alleged fucking crime scenes were. So anyway, I get so frustrated with just like how much misinformation there is out there. And then people would give me that report and they'd be like, well, what you're saying is bullshit because here. And then I'm like, okay, well, here's all the access to information requests and the witness. Here's all the other proof that completely counteract that one document on Google. Your first, it's number one on the search engine list. So that in itself should be a red flag. But anyway.
I'll be back when it's safe. Closes the door. Somebody explain to me what classroom 8 is. I'll be back when it's safe. Closes the door. Somebody explain to me what classroom 8 is. That's the room where all the children were shot and killed.
And it was actually room 9 because room 8 on the side, it's actually room 9 at the top. And actually, I'll get into it now. And the shooter kills himself in room 10. But it's actually seen as room 11. So you've also got the 9/11 in there, and I am the only one I think that's actually made that connection as well. But again, this is not to say yes or no to anything. Like this doesn't prove anything. This is just very interesting that those numbers are also being utilized.
He shoves her back into the room.
It's not lost on me.
Can you imagine the emotional distress that the girl is going to encounter seeing all those dead bodies, the body fluids, the blood splatter, brain tissues, and he pushes her in the room and leaves her?
A cop.
That's negligence. We know better. 2 minutes later, 2 Connecticut state troopers go into room 10. They walk in. They see a little boy hiding behind the toilet. Tell the little boy, okay, you're going to be safe. Stay right there. Don't move. We'll be back when it's safe. What's room 10? That's the other room the teachers and children were shot and killed. And that's where Adam Lanza is supposedly shot and killed himself. And they leave that little boy behind the toilet? That in itself raises a red flag. No police officers would ever leave a child in that position. They would take him with them. They would get him out of there.
But again, that
But
hindsight.
the only way you can ever find out the truth is you ask the right questions. And what you do is you use a mechanism called freedom of information, and it's the best way to get public records.
Connecticut FOIA is basically a government agency that says you have a right to know. Any person has a right to know when the government spends taxpayers' money, okay? You have a right to know. And you know what? I'm asking them using school board policies and procedures. These questions are so simple. They're not offensive to any parent. It's not offensive to any of the children. And when you refuse to answer simple questions, to me, serious red flags. Who was the person, the incident commander, who refused to pick up the phone and call the trauma helicopters? Who's the incident commander that morning who did not ever allow the paramedics and the EMTs to enter Sandy Hook Elementary School based on their sworn police affidavits? They were told to stand outside in the triage area where you see the red tarp, the yellow tarp. They were to stand there and not come inside. The next 3 people that go into school is Colgren, Officer Smith, and Officer Seabrook. Not one of them is a paramedic or an EMT. So who declared all those children dead within the first 8 minutes?
Who?
As the rescue team is coming into the school, the incident commander should have done what?
I've been involved with and trained for like mass cast situations, and that to me, just based on my experience and background and stuff like that, 15 years as an infantry officer. Within that time, I was one of 2 cadets selected to go to West Point. I was in the Special Forces. I have awards for actions overseas during major battle group operations, and then since then have incorporated and have worked with multiple high-level government agencies, including training them to respond to natural man-made disasters internationally, and use of force instructor. Anyway, all of that stuff, and so I like a little bit more of a background to speak. And so does he, by the way. He actually has a background in law enforcement as well.
Trauma helicopters with doctors. Think about it, children shot. Put the trauma surgeon in from Hartford, Connecticut. Put him in the trauma helicopters. Get him in the air. Not one of them was even requested to lift off. I called them.
I know how we do business on Long Island. I know what's available to us as far as
Right.
EMS. What's available in the backwoods of Connecticut.
This is a good comment too. I always thought it was a training exercise that presented as real. There's even with multiple other events, even 9/11 classic example, there was training exercises the exact same period of time. And then FEMA was also in the area days and even weeks leading up to that event. And obviously January 6th and 9/11 and so many other things. Oh my goodness, I can go down a list, right? Because there's so many false flag. And so when we say hoax, by the way, like the guy at the beginning was saying, Dave, it's not to say that people don't die during these false flag events. That's not at all what we're saying, which is why we repeatedly try to expose the truth, because there's a lot of harm and suffering and death that does often happen as well during these events. And that's the stuff that we're trying to avoid.
You got a 13-minute flight time. Hartford, Connecticut has 2 lights.
To a trauma center?
To a trauma center, 13-minute flight time. And to this day, not one.
Even with COVID, that was even Trump, like when he's going to the podium with Pence, like he was notified then that this was not a training exercise, and he's like, you should have told me, or should have told us, whatever it was. And so even with that, with the tabletop 201 exercise at Johns Hopkins University and Claydex and the periods between, and then when it was there's just so much information I've gone through on it's on Rumble, because my YouTube accounts keep on getting zapped, but I'll cover all that.
Ambulance ever showed up at the front entrance of the school? Are you going to tell me that they carried a child that was seriously shot 3 to 11 times? They carried it all the way up Dickinson Drive, up to the firehouse to put in an ambulance? You see 7, 8, 9 ambulances at the firehouse? What is wrong with that? Then I saw the truck delivering porta potties, 11 porta potties. Hey, here's my question for you, firemen. Whenever have you had the worst mass casualty shooting in elementary school history and all the fire trucks are sitting at the fire station? They're all shiny, they ain't moved. And the worst traffic control ever seen.
The thing about porta potties too is because I've also submitted training support requests when I was the admin company second in command and combat support company 2IC and operations officer, and even like I've even for military bases, even as a civilian, training government and porta potty requests. That is minimum of weeks, if not months in advance, that these requests have to go through. So it's very interesting that within hours there was like no even ambulances available on the scene, yet there was porta potties. It's just very interesting.
They blocked ambulances, people from coming, but they did get the porta potties there on time. So it took me about a month to figure out who the owner of the porta potty company was. It's called Chatfield Porta Potty out of Southbury, Connecticut. I called them up. I said, I want to know who ordered them.
When were they ordered?
When were they ordered? Who paid for them? She called the police. The Southbury Police Department, a sergeant called me the next morning, said, do not ever call the porta potty company again or you'll be arrested.
What?
The truth.
Now, I want you to call the porta potty company. And here's the thing. They got a porta potty company in Newtown, Connecticut. They got 2 of them. The entire campus is a crime scene. That means no one, no parent or anyone else is allowed to enter the crime scene. And they're actually delivered within 3 hours of the shooting. Here's my question to you. I want to know who the incident commander is who ordered porta potties, but they won't order trauma helicopters. Do you know they never let paramedics and EMTs inside the school the entire day? What if that's your grandchild in there?
Yeah.
They've got kids out in the parking lot at 10:09. Remember that when Shannon Hicks from the Newtown Bee Associate Editors taking these iconic pictures that appeared on every front page of every newspaper in the world. She's standing in the middle of the parking lot at Sandy Hook Elementary School, and they're still looking for a second shooter. But they don't let one ambulance, they don't let one EMT or paramedic inside that school. How does Shannon Hicks get into a crime scene when they're looking for the active shooter or shooters?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Excuse me.
We did not bring the bodies and the families into contact. We took pictures of them, of their facial features. You have it's easier on the families when you do that. There is a time and a place for up close and personal in the grieving process. But to accomplish this, we felt it would be best to do it this way, and you can sort of you can control the situation depending on your photographer. And I have very good photographers.
Just weird.
We need to look at the emotional part that somehow we're forgetting. Look at this thing as parents. And the one that I still cannot believe is that Dr. Carver, who refuses to allow those parents to come in contact with their children at the morgue. He decides not to let any of those 20 parents to see their child in the morgue. How is that possible? I am telling you, if that was your first grade girl, first grade boy, you would knock people to the ground because you're going to be in that morgue, you're going to be in that room, and you're going to hug your girl, your boy. I'm not going to let my little girl die and be in that room all by themselves. I'm going to be with them.
This is what parents will go to. I saw it at Columbine. They broke the 3 barriers. I have seen parents climb the fence, storm the office. When your baby is in that school and somebody's shooting, that is your child. You're going to do whatever it takes. I never saw that at Sandy Hook. And that's my 26 years of national school safety training all over the country. I don't see it at Sandy Hook. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it.
Who has a 99.9% kill rate, shooting children in a school within 8 minutes? There isn't an FBI agent, there isn't a Navy SEAL that's that good of a shot within 8 minutes and then kill himself. I mean, that's reasonable doubt. Adam Lanza could not have done that. I mean, he's an autistic child. He's got Asperger's.
And remember that big old sign they had posted out there, everyone must check in? Remember that big old sign, flashing sign?
Yes.
Everyone must sign in or check in.
Yeah.
But one of my FOIA requests is I want a copy of the list of all those that signed in on that day. They won't give it to me. Why? See, taxpayer money paid for that sign. Taxpayer money paid for someone to type it in, the message in. So therefore, if taxpayer monies were used, I should know who signed in and where they're from. You know, I've been asking this FOIA question, who's everyone? I mean, think about it. What if you don't sign? Are there consequences if you don't sign in? I mean, it says everyone must sign in. So that's a directive, I believe. And if you don't follow those directives, are you going to be arrested? And so I requested under the FOIA laws a copy of the sign-in log. And for 19 months, I have yet to get it.
We had established the point of entry. It was,
the same
I
window.
can say it's believed he was not voluntarily let into the school at all, that he forced his way into the school, but that's as far as we can go on that.
Picture 16 highly trained Connecticut State Troopers entering this window at Sandy Hook Elementary School with their long rifles.
Now, what you have to do when you post a picture of that shot out glass window, it is 42 1/3 inches high. It is 35 1/3 inches wide. Now, people have to picture these Connecticut SWAT team members and state troopers trying to crawl through that window. The Three Stooges are.
And like again, this is hindsight, but would you there's breaching teams and everything out there, would you not even just open up the freaking glass a little more? Why are they going through a 3 foot by 2 foot? Anyway, there's just so many things wrong with that day in my humble opinion as well, because the guys would just anyway, break the fucking glass, further tap it out, break it out, or open the door or go through other entries.
Smarter than that. They would send Curly in the window, open the door for the other 2. But try to picture 16 of them. And you know what makes me angry as a state trooper? When I used to have to fill out those reports, they're sworn testimony. I can go to jail for falsifying it. But when they're looking inside, there are Newtown police officers are already inside. Why to the window, would you please open the door? Why would you risk getting cut on the broken glass?
But again, hindsight
We actually
2020, right?
found the only footage, live footage, shot by a helicopter. It's the only footage, Alex, that has a timestamp on it. When you see the people chasing each other in the woods, and they're showing these people running into the woods, because guess what? They announced that a teacher just reported seeing 2 shadows running by the gym. Well, that footage was not shot till 12:23 in the afternoon. Now, why would you chase somebody in the woods after lunch? The school was safe and secure by 10:35.
For 2 hours, it was safe and secure. When I was oh, I didn't see this. This is the because again, I don't get everything right. So when I saw this yesterday, because I did look at this, yeah, this was a good video. There was repeat actors. In circles. So this is very common for role players and crisis actors to do that, and that's why when I was showing to you about what happened in Moscow a little while ago, I was in that was it the opera theater? Whatever that building was. There was multiple things to me that were inconsistent with a real event that wasn't staged and planned. Even the way they were coming through corridors, and then also the response, in this theater area itself, just the noises that were made, at the end, it was drawn out. It was just very strange. Don 189 on Rumble, because my YouTube.
As I explained to you in previous press conferences, we've done everything we need to do to literally peel back the onion layer by layer. Okay, and examine every crack and crevice of that facility. And that does not include, or exclude, I should say, the outside of the building. The outside of the building is also part of the crime scene, every single vehicle in that lot. So it's going to be a long, painstaking process.
I requested copies of all work orders from March the 1st through December 13th that were initiated by the principal, the assistant principal, or the head custodian on any type of maintenance work orders. I want you to open your heart, open your eyes. And the only way you'll ever understand this is if you're about to enroll your child in this elementary school, and what you're about to see, would you enroll your child? And take a look at the first picture. This is a school that every national news media, the second day after the incident, talked about what a pristine, what a vanguard school, what a picturesque. It is the school that made people from all over Connecticut move to Sandy Hook just so they could enroll their child in that special school. Look at the bushes, all overgrown, and what do you see running down the side of the building? It's mold. Now think about it. These are kids. It's an entrance. It's a main entrance. The picture should speak for itself. Look at the rotten wood. This is an exit to a playground. How in the world do the wheelchair kids get out of the back of that school, out of these portables, when they don't even have a ramp? They're not even ADA compliant. Broken gates. Now this picture was taken on December 14th, 2012. And if you look at the writing, it's already been marked that somebody's going to do some heavy duty digging. See the initials on the asphalt? Call before you dig. There's a construction bin by the storage shed. Everything you look at, it looks like it's been so neglected. Look all at the base of the wall. Look how moldy it is. Air conditioning in December. What happens, most school districts will remove those air conditioners and they patch up the window. They don't follow code. They don't follow procedures. And again, hanging wire. And take a look at the roof. I had their 5-year building maintenance plan, and the roof in 2010, 2011, inside that plan, which I had, there was no money budgeted for 210, 211, no money budgeted for 211, 212, no money budgeted for 212, 213. It also said that all the carpet inside that school needed to be replaced. Serious safety violation. The maintenance of this school is totally ignored. If there's one thing that I believe in, is that we have pride. We have pride in how our school looks. This is mold, this is mildew. And then if you look at the grass, that is long-term neglect. And again, take a look at the mold. I mean, this stuff is growing. It does not happen overnight. It's just filthy. I don't believe Sandy Hook is a functioning school. Nobody who loves their children would ever send them to this filthy school. I've spent my lifetime keeping schools clean. And I'm gonna tell you what, from the time children arrive, I mean this with all my heart, I want my school to be clean. It's called pride. I don't see any pride here. Look at the corners. What do we call this stuff? Look at the bottom of the doors. It's all water damage. It takes a long time to get mucky door frames and wall tiles. That's a watermark. That is a sign of flooding. And again, Dawn Hawksprung would have never let her school look this way. All it shows is neglect, neglect, neglect. You got room number 11, but you got a teacher placard that says 10. At least they ought to get the door numbers right. I challenge any teacher, any dean of students, assistant principal, counselors, please, as you're looking at this, tell me that's who we are. Tell me this is pride in our education. Please.
It's a very meticulous process. We leave no stone unturned. We take as much time as we need. We use all the resources that we have available to us. We will do that in this case and then some. We'll go backwards as far as we have to go in this investigation, and hopefully we'll stumble on answers. And we actually have 3 teams now, 3 major crime teams in the community. Our local partners are working with us, and we're going to move that and expedite that along as quickly as possible.
This afternoon, I spoke with Governor Malloy and FBI Director Mueller. I offered Governor Malloy my condolences on behalf of the nation and made it clear he will have every single resource that he needs to investigate this heinous crime. And I will do everything in my power as president to help.
To this day, for 13 months, I have been writing the Commissioner of Emergency Management Services. I've been writing the Chairman of the School Board, Superintendent. I have written everybody. I want to know who was the incident commander on December 14th, 2012. Is that a simple question? They refused to tell me who was in charge. I want to know who the incident commander was for medical services on that day. To this day, guess what? No return phone calls and no responses. Yeah. Why?
We as a nation, we as a people, we as a country, we deserve the truth. And I don't understand. 3 years and we can't get the truth. 3 years and we cannot have a congressional investigation. 3 years and we can't have a grand jury investigation. 3 years and the FBI classified the Sandy Hook school shooting as a top secret investigation. There's something more to the story.
Ever since Homeland Security and FEMA got together under one umbrella, you need to look up the word capstone, research the word Capstone. Do you know what capstone is? Capstone exercise is a whole community event.
Is that what this is?
Yes. Well, Mr. Halbig, Wolfgang, how did the whole community get involved in this? Nobody died. It was an exercise, a whole community exercise. Capstone is called a FEMA, a Homeland Security FEMA capstone exercise.
And that came from the president's word.
It comes from it starts at the president's desk. What did he use? He used Air Force One to fly into Newtown to pick all of those parents up. And do you know none of those parents live in Newtown today? Now go to, ready? Go to Columbine. 14 students died at Columbine, 23 seriously shot and injured. Half the parents who lost a child still live in Columbine. If you read Capstone, okay, it must be an entire community event. It has to be faith-based. All the churches have to be involved. The funeral homes have to be involved. Everybody.
Do you think that the residents in Newtown want to be remembered for the rest of their lives as the town of the massacre? We want to be remembered as the bridge to a kinder new world.
How many people were involved in this conspiracy?
I believe the whole community. I believe the Catholic Church. I believe the fire department. And let me tell you why they did it. They've got over $200 million since that exercise. Newtown has got over $200 million from the federal government.
Nice.
To use it any way they want.
I wonder if anyone in Lahaina or for any other natural disasters or anything like that, I wonder if they got that money.
$29 million donated by people from all across the country. And then every parent, this is one that bothers me, being a principal, okay? I've had children die in our school. Yeah, we've had fundraiser, but we never paid a parent $281,000 because their child died in our school from us. Each parent got $281,000, and they complained because they wanted more. Are you ready? Not one lawsuit by any of the parents have been filed as of today. Why would they not file a lawsuit? On the flip side, every parent was paid $281,000. And those parents actually wrote a letter to the Attorney General, George Jepson of Connecticut, saying they want more money from all the donations. They're complaining they didn't get enough money.
Is that how parents respond? I keep on getting told because I'm not a parent that I wouldn't understand this. But I feel there's a lot of parents out there that have gotten duped. And so I don't think that's a parameter for making that assessment.
Yes. I'm an old I can have. I didn't say that. You did. I just recorded it. I'm not looking for a problem. I'm going in doing just public work. Excuse me, they're a nonprofit organization.
I'm gonna have the sergeant come here.
Where's my attorney?
I'm right here.
Here's my attorney.
It's a 501c3. You have the right to inspect the books at any time.
The
sergeant come here and figure it out, okay? That's the way.
What's
your law for doing that?
They don't want you inside right now.
So what? They're a nonprofit. They get federal funds. We have the right to
figure it out, okay?
And he's called many times.
Okay. I've called.
What do you mean you'll figure it out? You're obstructing us from inspecting the books of a 501c3.
We haven't even talked to them.
They look at all
Anybody can say they feel threatened. That's a bunch.
And we have a job that we have to come here.
This is such BS, right? Like people use I feel threatened. This guy is former law enforcement, super respectful guy, really nice, and he's trying to get the truth out there to Americans and Canadians and others out there, and people are pulling this BS, and look how many law enforcement officers there are here enabling this when there's so much to actually investigate in your fucking country, like the Epstein list.
To make sure everything stays peaceful.
Okay.
I mean, that's fair, correct? Okay, I'll just go by myself with my attorney.
Let me wait till my sergeant gets here, okay, and then he'll make that determination.
We're polite, we're very respectful. All we want.
You weren't really polite and respectful to me last night, okay? That's all.
When you get in my face,
I didn't get in your face. You came into my face. Are you walking to me or am I walking towards you now?
I'm standing there.
Okay. Are you walking towards me?
I'm looking at you. I used to be a police officer.
Okay, then show me some respect.
How about the same from you?
I will. When you start showing me some, then I'll start showing you some.
I can see it.
Right?
They're preventing him from being able to get information that he has full authority to have, entitlement to have, and they're getting upset over it when he's the actual victim in this.
I can see it. Very polite, very courteous.
Yes, well, that's fine.
And it's to help
That's the way I
people.
operate. I hope you do.
I do.
We'll have no problems. Right?
Unbelievable.
Can you imagine no murders in Newtown in the year 2012? The FBI has to keep accurate records. They keep it for the whole country. Why do they do that? Because that's how the federal government allocates grant monies to states so they can fight violence. Now here, Sandy Hook, they've already got over $200 million. For what? There's nobody who died in 2012 in Newtown.
One thing that's becoming somewhat of a concern, and that is misinformation that's being posted on social media sites. There has been misinformation coming from people posing as the shooter in this case, posing using other IDs, and prosecution will take place when people perpetrating this information are identified. Again, all information relative to this case is coming from these microphones, and any information coming from other sources cannot be confirmed, and in many cases, it's been found is inaccurate. So I simply, that's a newest twist today that we want to make sure that's perfectly clear that social media websites that contain information relative to this case are not being posted by the Connecticut State Police, are not being posted by the Newtown Police, are not being posted by any authorities in this case. So any of that information and people that are putting that information up there in any manner, all right, that can be construed as a violation of state or federal law will be prosecuted, will be investigated and prosecuted.
A lot of
Earlier
intimidation there.
today, a tragedy of unspeakable terms played itself out in this community. Lieutenant Governor and I have been spoken to in an attempt that we might be prepared for something like this playing itself out in our state.
Interesting.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Governor
Hi, how are
Wolfgang,
you?
Halbig.
Hey, how are you?
I'm just asking one question. Who shared with you on the national news and the Lieutenant Governor that somebody told you something like this at Sandy Hook would happen to you here in the state?
Nope. I mean, other name alone.
Oh, you look good on television.
Thank you very much.
No, somebody, you said,
I never said that.
someone told me and the Lieutenant Governor that something like this might happen. Nobody? If I can get it recording, send it here, would you look at it?
I'll look at it.
Thank you, sir.
Lieutenant Governor and I have been spoken to in an attempt that we might be prepared for something like this playing itself out in our state.
Call your congressman, senator. They won't respond to you. Tell them that you want a copy of the FBI report. Tell them that you want a congressional investigation. They do not want to talk about Sandy Hook. Why? They're your senators. They're your congressmen. They work for you. They do not want to talk about Sandy Hook. And so here's my question to each one of you tonight. Do you honestly and truly in your heart believe that Sandy Hook actually happened? Yes or no? No. All right. Number two, do you believe that children and teachers actually died on December 14, 2012, Sandy Hook? Yes or no? No. Now, when I asked the question of people all across the country, I did it on an airplane coming in here today. Do you believe it? They all go, yeah. How did you learn about it? The news told me. They actually believe the national news as a means to seeking the truth. They don't even have the courage or take the time to ask questions.
I used to teach American government. In the last year and a half, executive order, are you ready for this? Signed without congressional approval, allows the national news media to use propaganda in all of their news reporting.
Canada too. Yep. I've shared so many videos on this. It's on my whiteboard too.
My sensibilities may not be the average man, but this probably is the worst I have seen. It's a good thing it's not being prosecution, because then I couldn't answer that. But if I say it in court, they yell at me and don't make me answer. So, no, I don't.
How young?
Sorry, I don't.
How young was he?
If I attempted to answer it in court, there'd be an objection and they'd win. They were cute kid stuff. I mean, they're first graders. They weren't cute kid stuff.
I've shared this video.
It wasn't a tent. It was this magnificent thing. And it's sectional and it sticks together with Velcro. And it's from the Department of Emergency Management. I hope they and I hope the people of Newtown don't have a crash on their head later. But.
Weird.
Either that piece of paper for me that says somebody's dead.
That's also
or occasionally a huge pile of evidence to convince them. So we didn't know if that's what killed her. We didn't know if she was dead before it happened. We certainly knew she was dead afterwards.
Yep.
Hi.
Yep.
As you've probably noticed, I'm not the president. I'm just a citizen. And as a citizen, I'm here at the White House today because I want to make a difference, and I hope you will join me. My name is Francine Wheeler. My husband David is with me. Our younger son, Ben, age 6, was murdered in his first grade classroom on December 14th, exactly 4 months ago this weekend.
I can't tie my shoes. I can't tie my shoes. How do grown-ups do it when it just gives me the blues? I'm never so confused as when I try to tie my shoes. Maybe I'm too slow, can't make that little bow. I pull the laces tight and then I almost break my toe. I only get confused when I try to tie my shoes.
I've never asked for anything, not from you or anyone. Now it's my turn to be selfish. It doesn't matter to whom these weapons were registered. It doesn't matter if they were purchased legally.
The principal, who, God bless her, lost her life, was just a very special person.
Covering the white hair with the hat, because like that was like a very long time prior to that, but I'm just gonna keep this going.
And all the parents knew that.
2 years ago, I called my 8-year-old son an asshole. Thank you. How's that for great parenting? In my defense, it was a stressful situation.
Could you describe him again?
He was naked. That's it? No height, weight, hair color?
2 decades ago?
A very special person. And all the parents knew that.
And then run down here.
It was awful. It was awful.
You doing okay, hon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks.
We were actually running to the house to get her teacher a pair of shoes.
What happened with the Italians?
They didn't tell us anything. Only what she knows, which I don't know if that's, accurate. So we don't have any information. I don't know.
If that weapon had been in place, he wouldn't have had that gun. But what happened instead, 22 decades ago, was that the assault weapons ban was left to expire. And they had started at that time, the CDC had started researching on ways to prevent gun violence. And what happened instead was that the NRA and the NSSF got a hold of some of our elected officials, and they were able to get them to stop trying to find out ways to get information to prevent gun violence while we weren't looking. We weren't paying attention. They changed the laws. They let these things expire. We're gonna mess up.
Well, I think that a lot of things that people hear aren't true. And I know the first couple of days I was just getting angry because I was hearing things that I knew didn't happen.
Take us back to that moment. When did you first know something had gone wrong?
Hearing loud popping noise, so I could see him from the knees down, see the legs.
Right in front of you.
20 feet away, facing his boots were facing my desk.
And then he turned and walked away?
And then it was seconds, and then turned and walked out.
And you were there for the next 4 hours?
Nearly, yeah. It was 1:15 before, we were petrified and we didn't know how many there could have been. And we were listening. You couldn't hear a whole lot, but we did. We heard screaming and the gunshots. And
Richard and Krista Rico say that talking about their Jessica brings tiny moments of comfort.
She was a ball of fire. She ruled the roost. She
our little CEO, we called her. She was the boss.
I knew exactly what she was wearing. I knew I was going to see her little ponytail come around the corner and her jacket and her black glittery Uggs that she had on that morning. And I knew I was going to see her, and I did. They finally, around 1:15, asked everybody to sit down. And they said that it was a tragic day in Newtown today, and 20 children were killed.
I was amazed at the strength that Grace's parents showed. They say it is Grace who is guiding them through these difficult days.
What do you want people to know about Grace?
Well, Grace had such a great spirit. She was a kind and gentle soul, and she was just the light and love of our family. And I remember that morning putting her on the bus. She had a habit of blowing kisses, but then she'd give me a big little liver lip, like, but then I knew she was so happy to go off and get there. So sure, we have anger and we're upset and we don't know why. So we'll just take the lead from them, and we will not go down that road, but we'll let them guide us.
It's a hard thing, though, isn't it, to not feel that?
We're going to go on, and we're going to use her positive energy to help guide us forward.
So we'll see if Robbie Parker, I assume he's going to come out to the microphones now and make a statement. Looks like the family is there and they're getting ready to come to the microphone. So we'll listen now.
Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker. My family is one of the families that lost a child yesterday in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings here in Connecticut. As the deep pain begins to settle into our hearts, we find comfort reflecting on the incredible person that Emily was. I guess that's it. Yeah.
It's about emotions. It's about how people respond to a tragedy. I didn't see that at Sandy Hook, did you? Parents, when I was a state trooper, the job I did not like is having to go to somebody's house at 3 o'clock in the morning, knock on that door, and do what? A death notification. Ladies and gentlemen, when that light comes on, they look at me, we had Stetson hats on, and they know something's wrong. I'm about to give them the worst news that they could ever get, that their son or daughter just died. You want to see emotions? You want to see heartaches? Your life was just destroyed by my news. They hug me, they grab me, they cry, they won't let go of me. I don't even know these people. And by the time an hour passes, I actually have to take them in my car and take them to the morgue to identify the body. Yes, ma'am. Why? The reason that I believe there is such a push from Democrats. They truly believe that this country needs to be without guns. And there's a reason behind that. It really scares me. When the United States government, Homeland Security, buys over 3 million rounds of hollow point bullets, who the hell are they for? Can I tell you what? It scares me. Huh? Sorry, 6 million. I'm old. When I was a state trooper, we were never allowed to carry hollow points. We actually would get fired if they called us with them. Yes, sir. As soon as you hear Sandy Hook, the first thing that the Connecticut legislature did, they passed new gun laws. Within a month, 350,000 residents of Connecticut became automatic felons because they didn't register their guns. These are people who owned their guns, they bought them, they owned them, and now they're supposed to turn them in.
The tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary appears right now to have been a tipping point for a national conversation about gun violence, one we've not seen in a long time.
They can fire 100 bullets in a minute if people know what they're doing with them.
We have to convince the Senate to come together and pass common sense gun responsibility reforms that will make our communities safer and prevent more tragedies like the one we never thought would happen to us.
My name is Bill Begg. What's my inspiration for coming tonight? I'm the parent of 3 Newtown students. I'm a graceful track coach. I'm the president of the medical staff here at Danbury Hospital. The newly formed group of United Physicians in Newtown that formed in response to the December 14th.
All right, I'm going to share this because it just stood out to me as well. Okay, so Sandy Hook happened on the 4th of December, 2012. And then that was released, like these interviews and stuff like that, from the Sandy Hook parents on the 13th of April, 2013. And so we just did a simple search. Right here, December 14, 2012 to April 13, 2013, 120 days, guys and gals. And so even with that, you've got the 201, the 102 built in. And yeah, just more universal language being used.
I'm the EMS medical director for town and this region, and I'm an ER doctor that was on shift December 14th. What's my goal in the next 2.5 minutes? The goal is to somehow convince you legislators that gun control measures that you hope will enact will make a difference.
At every level. The thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
It's now been 5 days since the heartbreaking tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut. Over these past 5 days, a discussion has reemerged as to what we might do not only to deter mass shootings in the future, but to reduce the epidemic of gun violence that plagues this country every single day. That conversation has to continue, but this time the words need to lead to action.
And I challenge you too.
And the Liberals in Canada are doing the same thing, and NDP. Like these, there's such a gun grab going on, and that's why none of this stuff surprises me. And there's so much misinformation too about like these staged and planned events, and they're trying to do gun grabs for people that are using knives. They're trying to do gun grabs for people that are using makeshift firearms that people are building themselves, or off the streets, right? And so they're blaming law-abiding citizens who have the full right to have firearms, painting them as terrorists, while they're not the issue here.
Everyone that's watching this today, you can take those questions that I'm asking and ask them of your school board, and they'll answer you. I go up to Newtown, they are stonewalling me. When I'm in front of the school board, they've got the state attorney, Stephen Sadinsky, who wrote the report, sitting in the room. Now, what is a state attorney doing listening to me speak?
This is my official license from the state of Florida. I am a licensed insurance adjuster, and I'm licensed in all lines: property insurance, casualty insurance, auto insurance. So I am an insurance adjuster. I just never told them that I'm an insurance adjuster. So when we're looking at the documents, I'm looking at them if I were an insurance adjuster, see if they comply with all the laws. So if you really want to find out what really happened on that day, on December 14th, you do look at the insurance because you have property damage. Everybody's. Well, number one, most school districts, when you have damage, the first thing you do is you file insurance claims, if they're true and accurate. Okay. We asked today for the appraiser's report. Okay. Like, I'm an adjuster. I wanted to see the adjuster's report on what he found, what his recommendations are, what the settlements were. We have nothing. Absolutely nothing. I've been filing FOIA requests since February 27th, 2013. I think every parent, grandparent, everybody in America has a right to know the truth. Every administrator, every teacher who works in our schools, they have a right to know what kind of environment they work in. But guess what? But bicycling is more important than finding the truth. Now, what is wrong in Connecticut?
That America is tired of the gun violence, that Congress must act. And each day that Congress does not act, it remains complicit in the gun violence.
Like they talk so tough, these betas.
Day.
But like they would never talk to someone like a real man like that, like to their face, like never. And it's always appealed to the majority as well. It's way with talking like this.
We urge you to pass a ban on high-capacity magazines, like the 30-round magazine that killed 20 students and 6 educators at Sandy Hook School.
There is a stack of documents attached, right?
Which are not relevant to what I was asking. Or you send me documents.
There's a stack of documents attached.
You send me documents.
Stop it there. Minutes of December 17th, 2012. You see that?
Yeah.
I did not ask for the minutes of December the 17th.
Correct. And that's what you asked for, isn't it?
No, I asked for consent agenda attachments that explain what's on.
Okay, I keep on interrupting, but the advisory committee for Sandy Hook, like this is them, right? Okay, so look what happened with the advisory committee for January 6th. How did that play out? Okay, we're getting all the information now, by the way, that I was sharing right from the beginning. It's finally been coming out in the last year, but shows just absolutely how much people were lied to and how many crisis actors were used, and to believe that this was a real event. And yeah, and they were lied about everything, and they withheld so much fucking footage that that would clear so many people, and there's still people in jail even for the Freedom Convoy because of liars.
The agenda.
Stay with me, Mr. Albert. First bullet point says I never want consent agenda. You see that, sir? Yes or no? Hear it as a town. Did I read that correctly?
But that's what you're doing to control the documents. I'm going to
Did I read that correctly? Did I read that correctly?
I read it, but I'm asking the school board.
Please answer my question. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah.
Does not have.
Oh God. Anyway, I mean, name calling. I shouldn't be doing that. It's fairly low level, but again, this stuff frustrates me because these little betas lie so much and get away with it. Sorry, my internet reception is a little poor. Let's see if I can I'll refresh it.
That can't be true.
Sorry about that. The movie's almost done anyways, or the podcast, whatever this is. So.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing to control the documents. I'm going to
Did I read that
control the
correctly?
records.
Did I read that correctly?
I read it, but I'm asking the school
Please
board.
answer my question. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah,
That does not have responsive documents.
that can't be true.
But that's how the town responded.
Well,
But it's a lie.
I'm not.
Oh. Oh. Okay. That's interesting. We'll see if I can refresh. Sorry, ladies and gents. I will try to connect to the US. Well, that took forever. I don't even know if I'm back on stage. I literally had to connect to another VPN, and even that was a pain in the butt. And I tried to reload pages and stuff like that. And so until I was actually on another IP address, I was blocked. That happens quite consistently. So let's see if I can share. And if it ends up where I can't, then I'm just going to
town
give up
in
for
this
today.
region, and I'm an ER doctor that was on shift December 14th. What's my goal in the next 2.5 minutes? My goal is to somehow convince you legislators that gun control measures that you hopefully will enact will make a difference.
At every level. One thing that I think is clear with young
I know we were
people
a
and
little
with
bit,
adults as well.
maybe
Damage the first thing.
128.
I did not ask for the minutes of December the 17th. I couldn't, correct.
And that's what you asked for, isn't it?
No, I asked for consent agenda attachments that explain what's on the agenda.
Stay with me, Al. The first bullet point says I don't want consent agenda. You see that, sir? Yes or no? You hear it as the town. Did I read that
Yeah,
correctly?
but that's what you're doing it to control the documents. I'm going to
Did I read that
custodial
correctly?
records.
Did I read that correctly?
I read it, but I'm asking the school
Please
board.
answer my question. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely.
It does not have responsive documents.
That can't be true.
But that's how the town responded.
Well, that's great.
But they're lying.
Please answer my question. Is that how the town responded?
That's how you responded.
And you're here today, but you just don't. Is that right?
I'm not getting
Please
it
answer my
right
question.
in it. I don't believe it.
And the town responded, but it does not have that document. Right? Is that what it says?
Yeah, but you have nothing. You don't have any document.
Isn't that what it says? Answer my question. Isn't that what it says? The town does not have responsive documents.
Absolutely, but you have documents.
That's an issue. I'm just going to clarify that in case anyone's not tracking that. Like for them not to have access or 0 documents that he needs or that we're fully entitled to have, that's a red flag.
Nobody.
And you just don't believe it.
I don't believe you. I don't trust you.
And I'll also note as a further objection that request 1A is not a request for a document. Hearsay. They assume these facts that are not in evidence. Hearsay.
He's an actor.
I'm going to have an objection to this, so hearsay.
Figures.
For some reason, you're under the assumption that we did not supply documents and complied
You didn't.
entirely with the document.
He's so mad.
Everyone must check in, but the town didn't put it there. Who do you think put it there?
I believe Homeland Security put it there.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Why?
Thank you.
Okay.
No, hang on a second. I think the response from Mr. House is completely inappropriate. There's no evidence whatsoever that the first selectman was here voluntarily.
I just said thank
It
you.
is what it is. The testimony is what it is.
Anything
I just said thank you.
It's completely uncalled for, and I've asked that it stop immediately.
He's such a beta. Oh my God. They're so emotional.
Let's try and keep doing things just.
No more thank yous, okay? I've never, ever, after we issued subpoenas for people to be our witnesses, to show up and verify that those documents exist, the attorney for the school board, the city of Newtown, and the Newtown Police Department, they told our witnesses not to show up. Now, when have you ever heard of that? He's an officer of the court. How does he tell my witnesses not to show up for this hearing? And you know what? They didn't show up.
So, Mr. Halbert, you're here today because you do not believe that the town has porta potty records or responses in connection with the signing sheet. Is that right?
No, I believe the school board, I believe the school, I want this on the record, I believe the school board has the records. They have school board policies. They're required to show an expenditure, taxpayer dollars.
Do you have any reason to believe that I was not responding on behalf of the Board of Education, the town of Newtown, and the Newtown Police Department?
No.
I do not believe.
Turning your attention to the next appeal, which is 823.
He watches so much court videos. I'll bring your attention
It's
to,
been a long
like, you're not a
road.
lawyer.
Or
even if you are, like,
it's been
this
a
has
long
nothing.
time coming. It's been since
You're on
April
a committee.
25th, 2014 that these requests were first made. Every step of the way we've been met with delay, and I've said it before, obfuscation. I think it's up to the commission to safeguard the rights of citizens like Mr. Hallbig, who come forward and ask for this information. This is precisely the moment when this Commission ought to safeguard the rights of a citizen such as Mr. Hallbig.
I just respectfully request that
the town produced all of the witnesses that were subpoenaed with two exceptions. Kevin Angelotti, for good reason. With respect to Kathy Jones, she was never called. So there's nothing in the record on that second day to indicate whether she was here or not. She was the principal at Sandy Hook School. Now
He just turns away. He's like such a liar.
again, I appreciate that it's viewed as a minor violation. I think the claim for civil penalties is outrageous. And I just respectfully request that the court be affirmed with that one clarification.
Commissioners, I'm gonna be out of order. That's full, I know, but he's lying.
You don't have a right.
You're right.
He actually is the.
I'm the complainant. That man is lying.
You don't have a right to speak. Come forward.
Never have had a liar like this here. I tell you what, talk about children say. And I guess Cohen and Wolf appointed Monty Frank as the representative. But what's finding amazing is I don't see Monty Frank ever at school board meetings. Now, I've never seen in Florida, when we have school board meetings, there's always an attorney sitting at the head of the table. How do you conduct school board hearings, which are state statutes, the state laws, and you don't ever see Monty Frank in any school board meetings?
That's weird.
I've got an email last night at 10:57 p.m. from my attorney stating that they wanted to cancel this hearing today. Can you imagine? I've got a $600 plane ticket. They emailed me at 10:57 last night saying they're going to cancel the hearing. And I'll tell you what, I got on that phone and I raised all kind of hell. And you know what? I am sick and tired of being pushed around. I might be 70 years old. I might be a senior citizen, but I ain't stupid. And I know the games that they're playing here today. Answer the goddamn questions and I'll go away.
You'll want to see this. You'll want to see this.
Mr. Howard, what is it that you actually thought you were going to get when you asked for these documents?
Well, I was looking forward for January 23rd on the consent agenda. When the board approved that consent agenda 5-0, you should have seen field trips for 26 children going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
You need to see this.
Which is an out-of-state field trip, which has to be approved by the principal, the superintendent, and the school board. Nowhere on any of those documents can you find that field trip signed and approved. That's what I'm looking for. And it should be on the consent agenda. And the reason I say that, sir, is because if you look at the document that he just provided to me, you can actually see a field trip being approved on the consent agenda. Field trips are approved on consent agendas. You just cannot find the one that I'm looking for. And that's why I picked January the 23rd, because that's the last possible date for a field trip to be approved going to the Super Bowl out of state.
Ladies and gentlemen, in celebration of our beautiful country, performing together the Sandy Hook Elementary School Chorus from Newtown, Connecticut, and Grammy and Oscar Award winner Jennifer Hudson.
here's a question I have for everybody who's listening. Where are the 26 kids from the Super Bowl? Where did they go? What are their names? Why were they given a gag order by the NFL and CBS Sports never to talk about what they saw at the Super Bowl? Who gives little children a gag order? Board member, superintendent, a little over a year ago, I sat in this chair, and I asked you for help about asking questions about an incident that happened in your community. Tonight, I pass out one page, and it has to do with your board agenda tonight. It talks about celebration of excellence. I cannot tell you how proud I am tonight. I got goosebumps. When I see a boardroom as a former principal, when I see this boardroom packed, standing ovation, when you got children in this room and you recognize them for all the good things they've done, I mean, I'm telling you, I got goosebumps. That's what you're about. That's what you're about. You got kids here, parents. That's what we want. Standing ovation, standing ovation. But I'm upset, and it bothers me to this day. Board members, you allowed, under your watch, 26 children from the Sandy Hook Elementary School choir to go on a field trip all the way from Sandy Hook to New Orleans to sing in the Super Bowl. Can you imagine those 26 children, the pride that they brought back in the healing process of Sandy Hook and Newtown? Those 26 children sang before over 100 million people around the world. These kids love back in your community. But I look at your school board agenda, February the 2nd, 2013. They sang at the Super Bowl win, February the 3rd, 2013. You know, not one of you board members said one thing about their performance. Read your school board minutes. Not one of you acknowledged the fact that they did a great job, that they were excellent in what they did. I don't understand that. That's what your job is. How could you ignore that? I'm about to fall out of the chair. These are somebody's children who traveled on a field trip. They represented you, and you don't even acknowledge their singing? And then, how in the world could you not bring them, those 26 children, the chorus teacher, and their families into this boardroom and reward them with excellence? They represented you. When they are introduced as the Sandy Hook Elementary School Choir, they're representing the school board. They're representing their parents, their community. And you know what? You can ignore me. You don't have to look at me. But I tell you what, you didn't bother to bring them into this room, to shake their hands, to hug those children.
Excuse me.
In my 3 minutes up,
Your
I know.
3 minutes are up. Yes.
I agree with you. But let me tell you something. If I were you, I'd do the right thing and bring those 26 children here, bring their parents, bring the chorus teacher. Why would you not recognize their excellence? I'm ashamed of y'all.
He's just so brave. That's still true. Yeah. I think it's still true. It's been a little bit.
I mean, you and I would never be talking if they didn't send those 2 homicide investigators. And I'm going to tell you what, they threatened me. They said if I don't stop asking questions about Sandy Hook, they're going to be Connecticut State Police were coming to my home and they're going to arrest me. Then I had 2 deputy sheriffs come to my house telling me that the Newtown police chief wants to know when I'm coming to Newtown. And then they ask if I own any handguns. I said, it's none of y'all's business. My wife, my grown sons have been threatened. They've contacted the school superintendents, board members. They've contacted community leaders and trying to get my sons and my wife.
Same thing happened with Bill Cooper. I mean, not the same thing. Oh my God, no. But okay, so remember the 5th of November. Yes, the Guy Fawkes things as well. I'm not excluding that, by the way. Also false flag. But with Bill Cooper, when he was talking about 9/11, he was murdered. In my humble opinion, again, it's only my opinion here. I have shared videos on that as well. But with law enforcement going to his home and alleging that he was some kind of a threat because he had firearms or whatever registered under his name. And so they came in with lethal force. And he was someone that, again, seemed to be a good person, not remotely a criminal, nor anyway, and was exposing truth. That's it. And we all have a right to know.
Fired from their job. I got a demand letter. It's called extortion or blackmail. If I didn't get rid of my website by end of August, if I did not get off of Facebook, if I did not get off of Twitter, they have directed me, this group of people have directed me to take it down. If I did not do that by the end of August, that my family was going to suffer dire consequences. Wow. I'm off of Facebook, I'm off of Twitter, I have no website. You know why? They're scared to death that the truth is going to come out. Yep. You know, this is what the mobsters use.
People notice that I just recently got back on Facebook, just like last year, and I was off of it for a couple of years, 2 years, because of what I was sharing.
To do in the old day. Remember when we were cops and robbers? They always attack the family. We're going to kill your wife and your children and your grandchildren if you testify in court. Well, guess what? That's where we are today. They're now threatening my family to get me to stop. Yeah, once you bring the family in, and they're scared to death. And I filed criminal charges with the FBI. I have filed criminal charges with the civil rights of the Department of Justice. And I'm hoping that somebody within those departments actually cares about their country. When I raise my right hand, we go into the job knowing we're never going to be rich. We're never going to be multimillionaires. We go in there because I think we want to make a difference in people's lives. It's our calling.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen death in Miami. When you're police officers in here, bless you guys. We do it because we want to make a difference. Every law enforcement officer takes an oath. We want to make a difference. When we hear shots fired, our hearts start pounding. We race to get there because we want to save lives. I did not see that at Sandy Hook.
Today, the silence by the best detectives, investigators all across this country, police departments, state, federal, and they're staying silent about Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. How can they remain silent? They have a duty to serve, protect. You know, when you have an incident that affects millions and millions of Americans emotionally, I mean, we were drained emotionally by the funerals. We were emotionally drained by the time this thing took a downturn. But where are my friends? Where are my men in blue? And you know what? Pick up the phone and call me. 352-729-2559. You are a bunch of cowards and you turned against your country. And why do I say that? Because you know better. We don't hold people accountable. Are we afraid? I hope not. I've got to reach out. I've got to find people who still love the truth. This country is in deep trouble, as you know. If we don't come together as a country, as a people, we are in serious, serious trouble. We're better. We're a better America than they're making us sound like. This is what America is all about. You know, it's all about communication. It's all about talking, listening. But it's all of us learning and working together. And you know what Sandy Hook has done? Sandy Hook has created panic and fear all across America in our public schools. We're now building prisons. We're locking doors, we're putting fences up, we got cameras everywhere. What they have done is cruel. It is cruel to use children and teachers as props. And I expect you to hold me accountable tonight. Don't you walk out of that door without asking the toughest question.
Now is the time for us to come together. Now is the time for all of us to be on the same page.
I'm going to show you another video. It's from Zachary Hubbard, who hates flat earthers, but still he does share good information as well. And so I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is from a year ago. Title is Alex Jones testifies about Sandy Hook hoax lies, September 22nd, 2022, 223 days after the 48th birthday.
Alex Jones' legal troubles having to do with the First Amendment and the Sandy Hook reported mass shooting. The latest comes today, Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. Alex Jones testifies in trial over his Sandy Hook hoax lies. And again, I've been showing for years that Alex Jones is a puppet on strings. I know a lot of you don't want to hear it, but you can see who the puppets on strings are when you know the code of the puppet masters. And notice, Alex Jones, born February 11th, 1974, is 48 years old. And from his February 11th birthday to today's news, September 22nd, is 223 days later, which is the 48th prime number. And of course, in the language of ABC 123, which Alex Jones won't talk to you about because it exposes him and all the things that he is a crony for, including the world of politics. But in this simple code of ABC 123, the word hoax equals 48. Again, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z, the 26 letters, 26.
So you got the 2, 3 in there as well.
And there are some ciphers that are based on the alphabetic order that you also want to know, like running the alphabetic order in reverse, running it in reverse with numerology, forwards with numerology. In this case, if you run it in reverse with numerology, Alex Jones and InfoWars both equal 48. Very special number, the 48 laws of power. The word Freemasons 48, so is the word Illuminati. And keep in mind who the Sandy Hook parents are that are lobbying against the First and Second Amendment. Remember, in Revelation, the concluding book of the Bible, it talks about the synagogue of Satan, those who are false you-know-whos, but who are liars. The phrase the synagogue of Satan equals 223 forwards. In reverse, Philadelphia equals 223. And of course, the letter is written to the Church of Philadelphia about the synagogue of Satan in Revelation, the concluding book of the Bible. And in Catholic Bibles, Revelation is the 73rd book. This news comes today, September 22nd, 2022, a date with 73 numerology. Of course, Newtown, Connecticut's on the 73rd meridian. Adam Lanza equals 73. It was compared. The Sandy Hook shooting was compared to the Dune Blaine massacre, which happened on the 73rd day of the year, and Dune Blaine has that gematria 73. So again, if you're new here, I've been talking about these same number patterns with Sandy Hook for almost a decade now, and they continue to manifest year after year, ritual after ritual, as they continue to use this story as a reason to take away our rights and liberties. That's what our government does to us. The original definition of government is the original definition of terrorism is government by intimidation. They terrorize us, and then they use it as an excuse to take away our rights and liberties. So, again, keep it simple. Hoax is 48. Alex Jones is 48. Today he has to testify about his hoax lies. 223 days after his 48th birthday, where 223 is the 48th prime. Again, this stuff's going on every day, from Puppet Trump, who Alex Jones lobbied for in a hard way. Again, imagine had Alex Jones, with his following, gotten behind this work and helped out the movement we were building.
Right, I was talking about the 48. I get obsessed, and so it's 4 times 8 is 32. So you've got the 32. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 divided by 3 is 0.66. So you've got that in there as well. And then even with like the sun's path, its ecliptical path above us within this cosmos, 23.4 degrees north or south latitude of the equatorial line is the furthest it travels, being smaller and more local than we are being told.
Long before Trump was in office, as we said he would be, just as how we said Biden would become number 46 in the election 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, when the only other Catholic president died at age 46, JFK, and so did Beau Biden. Again, Catholic equals 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. But anyway, all these rituals, like I've said from the beginning, they're by the numbers.
In the King James Version of the Bible, whatever you want to call it, there is 39 chapters in the Old Testament and 27 in the New, which equals 66.
They're biblical. We're living out the script according to scripture. And Alex Jones is a mass deceiver. Again, if you guys missed the primetime
So
show,
I talked about the 27 on the license plate with the Sandy Hook thing. I forget what train of thought I was on with that. Oh yeah, okay. So 27 chapters in the New Testament, and then 39 in the Old Testament. So you've got 3 times 9 is 27. So even with that, you've got 27 and 27 in there as well. I don't think that that's a coincidence.
they put out earlier this year on CNN about Alex Jones. We were talking about how they put that out on his 122nd day of his age. Again, the Jesuit motto, Jesus Hominum Salvator 122, like his full name, Alexander Emmerich Jones. Again, special numbers, you guys, but everything about this guy is a puppet show. If you watch this special, though, they talked about how Alex Jones, on his best days, will clear upwards of $500,000 in sales of merchandise. And, I mean, this guy has made a fortune off the truth community who's been gullible enough to not see through him. You know, we grind over here 24/7, 365, putting out the most powerful information. And after years and years of grinding, can't raise anywhere near what Alex Jones does in one day. Yet if you look online, there's not really anyone attacking Alex Jones. There's a million people attacking me. So I want all of you guys to also think about that. You know, Alex Jones finally got censored in 2018. What about the rest of us who'd already been censored 1,000 times before that? It's all part of the show.
So true.
Makes you think he's legitimate. Never has been. Controlled on from the beginning. Go back and listen to what Bill Cooper said. Said he's a liar and a fraud. And by the way, look how Alex Jones and Donald Trump, two con men who have a lot of people fooled who think they're about the truth. Notice how they have that same gematria. Remember, Federal's 138. Illuminati and Freemasons 48. DC, the Masonic city, named after George Washington, the Freemason who penned the letter about his concerns about the Illuminati that had plans to infiltrate Masonry. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And if you don't know my work on Sandy Hook, you should look into that. It's not an accident that Adam Peter Lanza equals 56, and the shooting happened in 2012, 56 years after the school opened in 56. It's also not an accident that the coronavirus vaccine went live on the anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting, and the first person to get in the U.S. was a nurse reported to be named Sandy or Sandra. Again, coronavirus 56, like COVID vaccine, like Society of Jesus, like how the list goes on and on and on. Anthony Fauci, Washington, D.C., Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from. Again, that's who owns Alex Jones, the Jesuits. Their motto is Jesus Hominum Salvator. Learn the code, see through what's really going on. Stop arguing with the facts. Stop letting your emotions and your...
I mean, I don't think it's Jesuits, like he says. I think that there's Protestants and Islam. Like, there's so many different people, like from different backgrounds, skin colors, religions, and stuff like that, that are part of these groups, right? It has to do with inherited wealth and people perceiving themselves to be some kind of an elite class above us, ordinary humans, treating us like cattle, you know. And anyway, so a lot of interesting stuff. I know that this is obviously a very touchy subject, and but I do think that this needs to get more out into the open, just so people can see just how lied to they have been, so that they can have more informed consent moving forward, be more cautious, be more diligent in research and looking at, you know, the actual events that have happened in the past, and so that you can properly understand why people like myself are very accurate in our predictions about future events, right? Like I've called out even with what was going on with Russia, Ukraine. Like it was on my whiteboard months in advance, and even before that. And I was saying why, and even with COVID and with Israel, Palestine, with you friggin' name it, guys and gals. So anyway, I am at almost 85,000 views on Rumble. And as a Canadian, that may not sound like a lot, but it is. And so I would like to get to 100,000 views in the next couple months. That would be great. So I would appreciate if people would look at my Rumble videos, Don189, And I've been at this for years, and I give the most accurate assessments of events, even events that you don't even know have happened, like with Northwoods and Liberty and countless others like that, the Reichstag fire, or Reichstag, sorry, and so many others. So, but anyway, on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.